my name is Devon Aoki, and we're at the Alexander Wang show.
She didn't storm into fashion. She floated into it, like a vision from another planet, with porcelain skin, feline eyes, and a frame that defied the statuesque standard. She didn't walk the runway. She haunted it. At just 16, she replaced Naomi Campbell on Versace's Catwalk, not with attitude, but with otherworldly stillness. Karl Lagerfeld called her the most beautiful alien, a compliment, a prophecy, and perhaps a curse. For a moment, she was everywhere. Chanel, Fendi, Vogue, Moschino, her face whispering from billboards and high-gloss pages. She wasn't just a model. She was the beginning of a new aesthetic. And then, she vanished. No scandal, no drama, just absence. So what happened to fashion's most ethereal muse? Why did the girl meant to succeed Kate Moss walk away not in disgrace, but in defiance? And in a world obsessed with staying relevant, how did her silence become her loudest statement? Devon Aoki was born into a world of contradictions. Her father, Rocky Aoki, was the flamboyant founder of the Benihana restaurant empire, a man of theatrics, flash, and fortune. Her mother, Pamela Hilberger, was a quiet artist and jewelry designer from rural America. Devon's bloodline was a cocktail of Japanese heritage, Midwestern calm, and New York energy. She grew up bouncing between Beverly Hills and London. Her childhood split between designer penthouses and bohemian studios. Her half-brother, Steve Aoki, would later become a global EDM phenomenon. But in those early days, Devon was the quiet one, the watcher, the mystery in the corner. She wasn't the loudest in the room. She was the one you couldn't look away from. By age 13, she was already experimenting with fashion, not to impress, but to express. She shaved her eyebrows, layered vintage clothes with couture. She didn't want to fit in. She wanted to distort the mold. And then one day, a fateful encounter shifted everything. Spotted by a scout while still in school, Devon didn't just step into modeling, she was absorbed into it. The industry, always hungry for something new, had never seen someone quite like her. She wasn't tall enough, her face wasn't symmetrical, her look wasn't commercial, and that's exactly why they wanted her. She was about to become the accidental revolution. Devon Aoki didn't climb the fashion ranks. She rewired them. At just 14, she signed with Storm Model Management, the same agency that discovered Kate Moss. But where Moss embodied fragile cool, Devon radiated something stranger, wilder. Her look didn't whisper rebellion. It shouted from the shadows. She wasn't tall enough by industry standards, standing barely over 5'5", but on the runway, she expanded. She moved like no one else, not fluid, not fierce, but ghost-like. You couldn't predict her, you couldn't place her, and that made her irresistible. The breakthrough came fast, too fast. By 16, she was handpicked by Donatella Versace to replace Naomi Campbell on the runway, a decision that sent ripples through the industry. It wasn't just shocking, it was symbolic. A new beauty standard was being born, and Devon was its reluctant prophet. Fashion's elite couldn't get enough. Karl Lagerfeld brought her into the Chanel fold, calling her the most beautiful alien, a nickname that oddly fit better than any human label. Jeremy Scott made her a muse. Moschino, Fendi, YSL, Hugo Boss, Lancôme, they all lined up. But Devon didn't chase glamour, she distorted it. In editorials, she posed like a doll left in the rain, wet-haired, wide-eyed, and barely human. Her face became a playground for photographers who wanted more than beauty. They wanted statement, and Devon gave them poetry. She wasn't trying to seduce. She was trying to unsettle. Magazines didn't know what to do with her, so they did everything. She appeared in ID, Vogue, Numero, and The Face, each time reinventing herself. Schoolgirl one day, alien priestess the next. In the era of symmetry and sex appeal, Devon brought asymmetry and ambiguity. She turned being unusual into a superpower. Even Hollywood noticed. In 2003, she stepped into film with a role in Too Fast, Too Furious, and later as the sword-wielding assassin Miho in Sin City. On screen, she was silent, but deadly, a perfect echo of her runway persona. Fierce, strange, unforgettable. But the deeper she went into fame, the more she seemed to recoil. There were no tabloid scandals, no drunken nights caught on camera, no feuds or fiery interviews. Devon wasn't playing the fame game. She was playing a different one entirely. And soon, she'd decide to stop playing altogether.
Most careers in fashion end with a headline. Devon Aoki's ended with a whisper. There was no scandal, no overdose, no catastrophic breakdown, no bridges burned, no brands boycotted. She simply stepped away. And that made it even more haunting. By the early 2000s, Devon was everywhere, on every catwalk, in every campaign, every magazine. She had broken through every barrier: height, race, beauty norms, tradition. She had nothing left to prove. But the industry had started to change, and so had she. Fashion was entering a new era, more commercial, more polished, more algorithmic. It favored precision over poetry, perfection over peculiarity. The same faces cycled endlessly, and innovation took a backseat to mass appeal. The alien girl no longer fit in a world built for clones. And Devon knew it. In interviews, she spoke rarely, but when she did, her words pierced. It didn't feel like a place for individuality anymore, she once said. Everything was becoming the same. Behind the scenes, she had already started pulling away, turning down jobs, staying home more, and finding comfort outside the flashing lights. She wasn't pushed out. She was backing away on her own terms. At just 24, she made the kind of decision most models couldn't fathom. She walked away from fashion while the world was still obsessed with her. The timing felt almost surgical. One day, she was on the cover of Vogue. The next, she was gone. There were rumors, of course, that she had been forced out, that she was pregnant, that she had burned out. But none of them landed, because the truth was far more radical. Devon Aoki had chosen peace over relevance, family over fame, identity over image. In 2007, she gave birth to her first child, and in that quiet transformation from supermodel to mother, she found a kind of power the runway could never offer. There was no comeback tour, no big farewell, just a fade into the life she had always wanted, and the silence of an industry that didn't know how to handle a woman who refused to be consumed by it. For a world that thrives on spectacle, Devon's disappearance became the most dramatic act of all.
She didn't return to reclaim a crown. She never cared for one to begin with. Devon Aoki's redemption didn't come in the form of a runway comeback or a tell-all memoir. It came in the quiet dignity of non-participation, of choosing not to play the game even when the game begged for her. After becoming a mother, she shifted her attention to family, art, and a life lived off-camera. While many in her position might have feared fading from memory, Devon seemed to welcome it. Fame, after all, had never been the goal. But fashion couldn't let her go. In the years that followed, her image, even in absence, became iconography. Designers referenced her in mood boards. Younger models cited her as the reason they believed someone different could succeed. Gen Z, obsessed with uniqueness and anti-glamour, rediscovered her as a patron saint of odd beauty. And sometimes she returned, on her terms. In 2017, she walked in Moschino's show, still mesmerizing, still unmistakably herself. A few carefully chosen covers followed, not for exposure, but for expression. She picked her moments the way she once picked her poses, deliberately, defiantly. She appeared not to restart a career, but to remind the world she'd never needed it to define her. Even in rare interviews, she remained elusive, soft-spoken, philosophical, uninterested in vanity. Her life had changed, her priorities had evolved, and she wanted no part in pretending otherwise. In a culture addicted to comebacks, Devon Aoki's greatest act of rebellion was choosing to stay gone and still remain unforgettable. In an industry obsessed with longevity, Devon Aoki proved that impact isn't measured in years, it's measured in moments. She didn't flood the runways for decades. She didn't amass 1,000 covers. She didn't reshape herself to fit the mold. Instead, she broke the mold, then walked away before it reshaped her. Devon's legacy isn't just her face, her walk, or her film roles. It's the space she created for difference. For the girls who were too short, too strange, too silent. For the muses who didn't smile. For the beauty that made you uncomfortable. She stood as proof that fashion doesn't need to scream to be powerful. Sometimes, it just needs to exist, unapologetically. Her influence lingers in the faces of today's rule breakers, in the haunting stillness of a runway model who dares to blink, in the casting of girls with unusual features, in the quiet confidence of a woman who doesn't beg to be remembered. Devon didn't just leave fashion, she ghosted it, beautifully, completely, and on her own terms. And in doing so, she became something far rarer than a supermodel. She became a myth.